Well, I might have gotten the deal of the century at Musician's Friend. Let's check out this Mesa Boogie Badlander 50. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Guitar Gear Trader. I am Steve, coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee once again. And I want to thank you, everybody, for watching the show. Do me a favor before we get into it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, make a comment on the video, share with your friends. Follow me on Instagram at Guitar Gear Trader. I really appreciate it. So I think the best deal I got for the entire year, and maybe my entire trading career with guitars and gear, might have happened this week. Now, I thought the price I got on my R9 Les Paul from the Gibson demo shop was amazing, but this, percentage-wise, might outdo that particular purchase. So, just to give you a little background on what's going on here. And first of all, this is not a paid advertisement at all. I did not get any money from Musician's Friend for this. I got no money from Mesa Boogie for this. I paid for this out of my own pocket, and this is a straight up review on my end. And I just want to let you guys know about it, because if this deal comes along again and you guys have the opportunity to scoop this up, I really want you to, because that's what this channel is all about. This channel is basically trying to get the gear that you want and the gear that you need for the lowest possible price that you can possibly pay for it, and even better, if you can trade for it and not put any money out of pocket. That's really the goal of this channel. But this wasn't one of those things where I could trade. This was something new from a shop. So that's that. So if you don't know, Musician's Friend is a website, kind of like Sweetwater or, guitarcenter.com or Zounds, okay, or Music 123. There are two big ones that I personally shop at, and it's Sweetwater and Musician's Friend. Those are the two online shops that I like to go to. Mostly Sweetwater, but every once in a while I'll buy something through the stupid deal of the day through Musician's Friend. So you might be saying to yourself, Steve, what's the stupid deal of the day? And the stupid deal of the day is if you go to a Musician's Friend website every morning at about 7:10 a.m. Well, that's when I get it. I get it at 7:10 a.m. Central Time. So it's probably 8 o'clock, 8:10 Eastern Time. And I don't know what it is when you go west. Who knows what those crazy hours are. But every day you will see on their homepage right there, it's a stupid deal of the day. And most of the time, this could be something that's really not all that expensive. It could be a guitar that's, marked down from $400 to $200. It could be a set of strings. Like I buy, whenever they have the Dario 10 gauge strings, they usually sell them in a bundle of 10 pairs of strings. And it's $39 instead of the normal $80 or whatever it is. I buy that every time it comes up. Whenever there's a deal on the Hercules guitar stands, I buy those because it's a 2-pack and I get them for $48 when they're normally $78, something like that. This particular one that I took a screen cap of is a mic set for drums, and I think the normal price was $200 and they were selling it for $100, something like that. And typically those are the things that are kind of the stupid deal of the days. It's not for everybody, but it's always good to keep an eye on it. And I get it on my phone every single morning. Every morning I get the little app notification says, new deal of the day is available. And as I'm driving to work with my kids, I hit the little button and I see what the product is. Well, about 3 weeks ago, they had a Mesa Boogie Badlander 50 combo amp, 1x12, for $1,200 or $1,299, I think it was the price. Now, I'm no expert, but I know that Mesa Boogies are some of the best amps that you can buy. I own a Mesa Boogie Fillmore 25. I traded a Rickenbacker for that amp about a year and a half ago, and I jam with two sets of guys, and this amp stays at one house where we jam with one of those groups. It stays there. It's my rehearsal amp. It's got 2 channels, good clean, great dirty channel. It's got a built-in reverb, which I really, really like, so I don't have to take many pedals with me when I go there. And it's plenty loud enough for just me, a bass player, and a drummer. I always wanted a rectifier because you hear so many good things about it. And it's one of those amps that you're supposed to have in your collection, right? You're supposed to have the JCM Marshall. You're supposed to have a Vox AC30. For me personally, my favorite amps in the world are orange amps. So you have to have, or maybe a rock reverb or something like that, which I have. And this was, rectifier was something that I really, really wanted. So this is a rectifier amp. It's a 2-channel amp, and it was $12.99. So now I get to work. I have about, a 10-15 minute drive from when I saw it to when I get to work. And then I have about a half an hour at my job to really get settled before I really have to do anything. So I was like, let me take a look at this amp, because I don't know much about Mesa Boogies other than I know Mark Tremonti plays them in Alter Bridge and in Creed, and they sound great. And I know the guy on YouTube, Ola, who says Kenneth Chug loves Mesa Boogie amps. And they get lots of praise. They're made in the US. All right, so I love that aspect of them as well. So I was like, let me check this out. Let me look at reverb and see what they're going for. Because a lot of times, you might have a company that is supposed to be high quality, but maybe they made a stinker. And this particular product didn't do well, and it sells for dirt cheap on the internet. Who knows? All I know is the used ones on Reverb were selling for $1,600, $1,700, $1,800, and the new ones were all $24.99. So I went on to their website, the Musician's Friend website, and I found that this was the normal price for it. It was $23.99, brand new in the box, 1x12 Badlander 50 combo amp, and they were selling it for the $12.99. I started looking on YouTube. I see the reviews. The reviews are unbelievable. Everyone loves this amp. No one has anything bad to say about the amp. All the big names did the reviews on the amp. A lot of times, I'll find an amp that I'm interested in, or I think might be a good price, and you go on and there's not a lot of reviews on them. There might be a review like, from someone like me who's like, just doing it out of their bedroom. They're just, playing through it in their bedroom or in their basement or something like that. Not a big name channel with not a lot of followers, things like that. But this particular amp, it was reviewed by everybody, right? It was reviewed by Andertons. It was reviewed by Jack Fawcett, I think. There's a couple of German dudes and like European guys that are really heavy metal that reviewed the amp. So there were lots of good reviews out there. And I was like, all right, I better jump on this deal because it's 50% off, right? When are you ever going to get a Mesa Boogie amp, brand new, not an open box, not a demo, brand new for 50% off? So I was like, oh, Musician's Friend has a credit card. Let me apply for the credit card. I'll get the 36-month special financing. So I apply for the credit card. I go to buy the amp around 9 o'clock in the morning, right? About 2 hours after the stupid deal of the day goes up, and it's sold out. It's gone. You can't get it. There's no rain checks. There's no, we'll honor your price. None of that. By the time it took me to open that credit card, I lost my chance. And I was so mad. The main reason, and you might think I'm nuts, and maybe I am nuts, and that's fine. I don't care. The main reason I wanted this amp is because it has a direct out. And if you know this channel, you know that I've been looking for an amp that I could plug into my soundboard to plug into this computer to get you guys the best sound I possibly can when I want to review guitars and stuff like that. Last week I did a review on an orange Gain Baby, and the amp was great. It just didn't sound great because I don't have a cab simulator or a cab emulator program or software to go into my computer. You're saying, well, they're cheap, they're free, or something like that. Go get one. I am so stupid and ignorant when it comes to that. I'm an old school. I want a tube amp. I want a microphone in front of it, and I want to play through that and get the real sound of it. And I can't do that late at night with my kids and my wife sleeping at night. It's not going to happen. So I need something where I could plug in directly to the soundboard. I bought a Freeman Runt 50 that has a direct out, but it doesn't have silent mode. You can't you can't play without it being hooked up to the cabinet. It'll give the signal to the front of the house to the soundboard, but you also hear it coming out of the cab. With this amp, you plug in the direct into the DI out, and you can unplug the actual cabinet, and I'll show you that, to do it silently. Or you can plug in headphones and do it through headphones and it sounds great. And it's silent, and you can blast it. Plus, it has built-in cab emulators, so I don't have to get a software. I don't have to learn how to do that because I don't want to sit down and have to learn how to do that stuff. I want to do these videos while everything's fresh in my mind and as things happen with me. So that was another reason why I got this. So I thought I lost it. A couple of weeks go by, and I'm making sure that I'm checking my stupid deal of the day updates on a daily basis. And what do you know? 3 weeks later, it comes up again. And I couldn't believe it. And I was ready this time. I sat there. I had my credit card information all set to go. As soon as it popped up in my car, I'm doing it on my phone. It's very dangerous. Don't do that. But I'm in my car. I'm buying it on my phone. And I purchased the amp. Not a big deal. And about an hour later, I checked again. They were sold out again. So I don't know why Mesa is doing this, because Musician's Friend sold out their stock 3 weeks ago, got more in, did another stupid deal of the day, and got rid of that stock. This link that I just showed you was today. So they have more. They're in stock. They're ready to ship. But for some reason, they did a stupid deal of the day on it. And I guess they have more in stock now. So take a look. Look on Musician. Download the app. Get the notifications, because every day at 7:11 in the morning, Central Time, I get a notification that the stupid deal of the day is up, and I check every single day. And if you guys can get this amp for $1,200, by all means, you got to do it. Now, some of you might be saying, well, you're full of it. You didn't get it for $1,200. You're lying. Aha. I got my invoice. Okay. I got my invoice right here. Here's my invoice for the deal. Okay. So here you can see subtotal $23.99, shipping $69.99. They took the shipping off because it was above a certain price. Tax $133. Stupid deal of the day, minus $1,100. Order total $1,502.47. How you go wrong? How can you go wrong with that? Right? Brand new Mesa Boogie amp right out of the box. Not an open box, not a demo. Nothing wrong with it. Not a factory second. Brand spanking new. 50% off. Best deal I've gotten so far, maybe ever, for something that's brand new. All right, best deal ever that I got for something that's brand new. Not go wrong. So, with that said, let's take a look at the amp. Okay, so here's the front panel of the amp. And before I get into the controls and stuff, I just want to tell you what is included in this amp. So you get a Mesa Boogie cover that goes over it. You know, nice vinyl cover that goes over the amp when you want to transport it from one place to another. You also get the included Mesa Boogie foot switch, and you also get a cable for that foot switch to attach to the amp itself. You get, my favorite part is you get 4 really, really sturdy casters that attach to the bottom of the amp. And there's a little track at the bottom of the amp with like a little pin, and you push the pin up, you put the caster in, and it locks the caster in. You let the pin go, and it locks that caster in. And now you got a beautiful, heavy, all-tube amp on wheels ready to go. And if you want to take them out, it's real easy. Just push that pin up, take the wheel off, and you're Bob's your uncle. So what we have here, we have 2 channels. You have the top channel, bottom channel, both of which are the same exact channel. I really love that. A lot of times on these amps where one is clean and one's a crunch, both of these can be your clean channel if you wanted them to. One could be your clean channel that you're just going to use like overdrives with, and the other one can be your regular clean channel, or you can have it a crunch channel, or you can have it a super distorted channel, whatever you want. But you can set them both up to be the exact same channel, which I really, really like, because you know what you're getting with each one. So all the way to the left here, okay, we have our instrument input, and we have our foot switch input below that. And then next to it, we have these 3 toggle switches. The top toggle switch is for the top channel. The middle toggle switch is your foot switch channel. So when you hit your foot switch, that changes the channel. Or you can do it without a foot switch manually by flicking that switch there. And then you have the bottom switch at the bottom that deals with the bottom channel. They all 3 of them have the same exact settings. If you put the toggle switch all the way to the top on both of those, it is clean. If you set it in the middle, it is called crunch. If you set it to the bottom, it's called crush. And both channels have the exact same 3 modes. And you can set them independently. You can have one set to clean, one set to crush, one set to crunch, the other one set to crush, whatever you want. What is the difference between crunch and crush? The crush one is your more heavy, saturated gain sounds. So when I'm doing, there might be 1 or 2 songs that I do in my set that might be like more like heavy, like Metallica. You can put it down into the crunch mode, or the crush mode, excuse me, and get that real, and scoop your mids out, and you can get that really cool, nasty metal sound that you wanted. For me, I'm going to live more in that crunch zone, and I'm probably going to set the top channel to clean, use that as my clean platform, maybe put a little bit of gain on it so it breaks up just a tiny bit so it sounds a little bluesy or a little classic rocky. And then the bottom channel, I'll have my distortion. And it's super easy if I wanted to just get that metal sound, just to walk over to the amp, flip that little switch down to crush on that bottom channel, and boost up my gain, and I got my metal sounds. I just have to remember, once we're done with that one song, to set it back to normal, right? Or I don't have to do any of that. I could just leave it on crunch and set my pedals to get my metal sound for the one song. But we'll see how that goes. Then we have our knobs. Each one of these has a gain, independent gain, independent treble, mid, bass. It has a presence knob that is going to be like a treble boost, and each one has a master volume knob. So they're the exact same controls, exact same sounds. You can set them both to be the exact same if you wanted to. You're probably not going to do that, but you can if you wanted. And then you have like a built-in attenuator. Flipped up, it's 50 watts, full wattage. Flipped down, it's the 20 watt version. Okay, let's flip it around, take a look at the back. Okay, so here we have the back side of the amp. Okay, we have a bias switch there that tells us what tubes are working for us, which is pretty cool. Then we have our effects loop, okay, our send and return, which if I do play this live, I will use the effects loop because I will be using the distortion from the amp. And whenever you're using distortion from your amp, you want to put your wet effects through the effects loop. If you are going to use your amp clean and not use any distortion from the amp, you don't need an effects loop. You can just put all your wet effects into the front of the amp. It's not going to matter. But this is the reason why I bought this amp, okay, right here. These 2 knobs here are the cab selectors. And you have 2 knobs because you can select the cab for each of the channels. You can have the channel 1, the top channel, and select a cab for that. And you can have a different cab selection for the bottom channel, which is really, really cool. So if you want a clean sound with a certain type of cabinet, you can have that independently of your crunch channel with a different cabinet setup with a different sound, which is really, really cool. Then you have your level knob. The level knob is going to increase the volume of your output, of your cab clone output, which is over here in the XLR cable. So this XLR cable is going right to my soundboard, and that level knob is going to increase the signal going to my soundboard. So it's going to increase the volume of it going to my soundboard, but it's also going to increase the volume if I were to plug in headphones right there into that headphone output. Okay, I'm not plugging headphones into that output because I'm plugging my headphones into my board. So I'm going to be listening to it through the board. But if you didn't have the board and you just wanted to play in the house, you would just plug the headphones in there and hear it through there if you wanted to practice silently. Now, one thing that's really important is that if you were to just plug headphones into there, you're probably going to do what I did and assume that the sound is not going to come out the speaker of the front of the amp. You're wrong. The speaker is going to keep going, and I had to go onto message boards to figure out how to fix this issue. It's not even an issue. It's made this way. If you want to practice silently, you actually have to unplug the head from the speaker. Now, you might be saying to yourself, you can't do that, you'll blow up the speaker, or you blow up the amp. That's not true. This amp was built with an internal load, so that if you unplug the speaker cabinet, it will internally deal with the load that is going to be given to the soundboard or wherever you're plugging this into, your DAW or whatever. So that's perfectly safe. All you have to do is unplug the speaker or the head from the speaker, and just make sure that if you're going to play this live, or if you're going to play this not attached to your soundboard or whatever, make sure you plug it back in. Okay, over here, can't see it too well, but there are areas where you can put external speakers. If you want to use a 4x12 or a separate cabinet, you have 8 ohm and 4 ohm and 16 ohm options over there on the right hand side. Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to plug in some, I'm going to plug in my Gibson R9, my other really good deal. Okay, and we're going to give you some sounds. What I'm going to put on the board, on the TV right now, on the screen on the TV, look at me, I'm so old. I'm going to put for you the cab simulators. So you can see on the dials that they have numbers on them, and I will straighten that out to the best I can so that you can see what those numbers are. Okay, and I'll even put the camera up closer for you so you can see what numbers I'm on. But these are the cabinets that those numbers correspond to. So number 1 in the cab select will be a 4x12 rectifier standard with Celestion vintage 30s, which is a Mesa Boogie cabinet. Number 2 is a traditional rectifier traditional 4x12 cabinet. Number 3 is a 2x12 rectifier horizontal cabinet at 16 ohms. 4 is a 1x12 rectifier. 5 is a 1x12 thiel. I have no idea how you say that, with Celestion C90s. Number 6 is a 2x12 Lone Star modeler with Celestion C90s. 7 is a 1x12 Lone Star 23 with C90s. And number 8 is your 1x12 California Tweed 23 with Jensen 100 watt Alnico Blackbird speakers in them. So let's get that hooked up, and I'm going to switch back and forth between the different cabs so that you can take a listen. I'll do clean, I'll do mostly dirty because that's what I bought this amp for, and we'll check that out. Okay, so we are going to now play through the amp a little bit. I can't control the back and the front so easy because of the way the amp is set up next to me with the cameras on it. So I'm just going to leave the top channel on the amp. The EQs are all going to be around noon, so your treble, bass, and mid's all going to be around noon. The gain's going to be almost off. Volume's up pretty high on this to get the volume up on the board properly. That's the volume's up about noon as well. And then the gain channel, the bottom channel that I'm using as in the crunch position, is going to be the same. The presence is going to be down on the presence knob. Gain, we're going to start with the gain around a quarter of the way up and then work our way up from there. And then I'll do some sounds on the crush setting, and I'll let you know when I do that as well. All right, so we're not going to spend too much time on the cleans. We'll get to the dirties pretty quick. So that was all 8 cabs with the gain around a quarter of the way up. Kind of a classic rock, probably a little bit more than I would use for a classic rock sound, but still a nice, really beautiful tone. and I love the way that this amp gives me all those different 8 effects. So let's turn the gain up a little bit more. Let's go about noon. We're gonna crank up the gain a little bit, and we'll go through the different cabs again. We'll start at 1. All right, let's go about 3/4 of the way up with the gain. I'm going to put the gain all the way up. I'm going to cut my mids, and I'm going to put the crush sound on. See if we can get some Metallica sounds out of this. Well, there you have it, everybody. I really, really enjoy this amp. I like this amp a lot. I'm glad I bought it. It works really well for what I think I need it for. You tell me how it sounds. A lot of people, commented on last week's video with the Orange Game Baby, and they agreed with me that the sound that I was getting, I wasn't really digging. I dig this a lot more. I think it sounds a lot fuller and fatter and warmer. And I'm just going to be biased and say that's because it's a tube-driven amp, and the Orange one is not. And I'm not paid by either one of them, so I'm going to give you an honest review, and I like this a lot better. And maybe it's because I have a mental bias in my head that I like tubes more than I like solid state stuff, but to me it just sounds a lot better. I want to play it more. I want to play, it inspires me to practice more and to play more and to play certain things, right? You hit a certain chord, you're like, oh, that sounds like this. Maybe I'll go with that. So I hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what you think. If I got a good deal, I know I got a good deal. So if someone's going to tell me I didn't get a good deal, you're going to be lying. You're just going to be a troll, but you can do that, but feel free to leave a comment. Please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please tell your friends about it. And until next week and see what I get next time, I'm Steve, live from Nashville. Peace out, everybody. Have a great one.